And then, but here's the last thing I'll mention about Tesla self-driving before we get back on topic.
I'll hold you to that too.
Yes. Crazy uncle. Hey everyone, welcome back to the DevOps Roundup. Today we're going to be talking about the future of AI and your career. We all know that the AI overlords are going to take over at some point. Your job may or may not be in jeopardy. And so we figured, what can you start doing today to start securing your job for the future so that maybe, just maybe, you might still be able to feed your family in the future. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and Shawn, welcome.
Thank you, Alex. That's a great introduction there. Yeah, I think we've given up. AI is going to rule the world. So how do we protect ourselves going forward? To make sure that we're not obsoleted. Now I'm getting very close to being obsolete anyway because of my age, but but how, if you're just starting out in your career, or you're mid-level in your career, how do you what are steps you can do to protect yourself?
Because I mean, this is inevitable, right? This will happen. The efficiency gains in AI are just exponential. They just don't make sense to not invest, especially if you're a business owner.
Yeah, you should be using AI. You should still be cautious about it, and double check everything it does. But it's getting better every moment.
Yeah. But the silver lining, I believe it would be the right word.
Sure.
Right, is that not everything is going to be replaceable by AI. AI is going to do a lot. Right, it's going to be able to replace a lot, but it's still going to need a conductor. It's still going to need somebody at the helm to kind of orchestrate and make it think and help it out. And so that's really where you have to shift your perspective, because if your job today is to write scripts, is to build a pipeline, is to do mechanical, I don't want to say mechanical, right, but very repetitive work, right? If you're doing the same thing over and over and over, it could be automated. And we kind of faced a similar dilemma when automation and scripting came out, right? Like being able to PowerShell the crap. I remember working on an Exchange team, and I used PowerShell a lot, and so I was automating the creation of database mailboxes for new employees, and setting up a bunch of parameters and doing this and doing that, and all like piping. Have you ever piped in PowerShell? It's my favorite thing to do, right? You take the output of one thing, you pipe it into the other, and then you take that output, you pipe it into the other. It's like you just get into how many pipes can you pipe within the pipe, right? So that was fun. But then my colleagues that were in their mid to late 50s, they're like, we remember when we had to do this manually, right? And so definitely the history tends to repeat itself. And so we're just going to give you a couple of tricks and tips, maybe 5, on what are some things that you should start investing in today, because these are not things that you can open up a book and just start doing, right? These new skills that you need are
learned. Yeah. You need to learn these things, and
not only you got to learn, but you got to experience them. I feel like you got to experience them more than learn.
Yeah.
So first one, systems thinker. What do you think of that, Shawn? What does it mean to become a systems thinker?
Well, but basically, you don't want to be the person who's told to write a script, because we can now tell AI to write a script. You need to be the one that comes up with, we need a script to do this task. You need to be thinking about the entire, I don't want to reuse the word system 100 times here, but rethink the entire entity of what you're doing, and which is a system. That was the best synonym I could come up with. But yeah, you don't want to be the person that's given the direction of this needs to happen, this script needs to be written, or this pipeline needs to be created. You want to be the one that thinks of, hey, I need this pipeline, or I need this automation. And if you raise yourself up to that level, that's not something AI is going to at least take over in the near term.
Yeah, and you can definitely will be able to use AI to assist you with the decision-making process, but being able to appreciate and have a deep understanding of how all the pieces come together for your business from a technical perspective and from a business perspective, understanding the consequences and the pros and the cons of major decisions or even small decisions, right?
What scales, what doesn't scale. We're not anticipating AI to be able to handle that. But
Right.
what are the inputs? What are the expected outputs? That's more of a system level thinking.
Right, right. And so yeah, so you want to be the person who ultimately designs things, not necessarily implements them, because the implementation, it's just that's what AI is going to take over. But designing, but the skill of designing is not something you can just go read a book on, right? Like I can read a book on pipelines, and 20 minutes later, I'm building new pipelines. Might not be the best pipelines, but we're making new pipelines nonetheless. But thinking about when to use this style, when to use that style, what things are we invoking, right? How are we integrating things? Like when are we doing calls? Like what kind of a cloud environment are we doing? Which one's the best one? AWS? Is it GCP, right? Like figuring out those technologies and paths and libraries, like and frameworks, like all that decision maker, AI is going to be able to help you, but I don't think AI would be able to choose still the best for your business.
No, I think you can definitely lean on AI, and I'd go back and saying there's a ton of books about this stuff. But yeah, a book is a good place to start, but you're not going to get all of this just from a book. You need experience.
Yeah.
You need to talk to other people that have done this and learn from them.
And I think you bring up a really good point, right? Because this is the biggest shift that I'm seeing, right? Right now, it's very easy for like a scripter or developer, right? Somebody in the space to say, I have my blinders. This is my job, right?
Mhm.
And give me my Jira ticket. I'm gonna go work. I'm gonna go create that feature. I'm gonna go create that pipeline. I'm gonna go do whatever I need to do because that's what's been assigned to me. But the skill set that you really need to start developing is having a vested interest in the why that thing you're doing is important or not
Yeah.
important. And then being able to take that critical analysis you have in your mind and articulate it with your peers, with your leads, right, with management, and then really have more meaningful and impactful conversations. And that again, you're not able to just flip a switch overnight, which is why the AI is coming. So start practicing now. Start being more invested. Start having an opinion on why things happen. Obviously, do it in a polite and respectful way so you don't sound like a negative Nancy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would say that the majority, so the cream of the crop of software developers are already thinking this way. So, throughout my career, when I'm working with software developers, if they're not the software developers that puts the blinders on, and there's a lot that wear blinders and only do their one specific task and only care about the one module that they develop, and they're not thinking about, well, how does this integrate with the whole system? And sometimes management kind of pushes them that way. But the software developers that can jump from project to project, from module to module, component to component, and still be useful or productive, they're the better software developers, and their careers go much further than the ones that put on blinders and just make sure their one component is doing what was told of them.
I had a manager one time. I was at 5 levels at this company I worked at. I was a level 3, and I was trying to get to that next level to a level 4. And I remember having a conversation with my manager. I was like, I'm doing a really, really good job. Like I'm crushing it. I'm owning it. Like I got my domain grade, right? And he's like, that's awesome. The reason I have a hard time promoting you is because when you go to that level 4, your expectation is to go broader. And so he's like, I don't want to promote you knowing that you know how to do one segment of the business really, really well. Because what happens when I need you to do another segment or a different one, right? I'm looking for you to develop skills that are transferable across domains and across technology. So that's really, again, you don't want to do the really mundane, very easy or very specific tasking. You want to be able to cross yourself and be able to do everything or at least more things.
Yeah. And this kind of goes into the whole T-shaped DevOps engineer. But
don't spoil anything for the end. You gotta stick around to the end. All right.
So the other way that could have panned out was they didn't want to promote you because they would lose the one person that's really great at that one area that you're trying to get promoted out of.
It's so funny because I'm 36, and so my career, I advanced fairly quickly in my career. And the first half of my career, my managers and stuff told me like, we need to grow you into your salary, was something that was echoed to me a lot, right? Because I was solving bigger and harder, more complex problems than I should have been for my pay grade. And when I went and asked for more money, they're like, we need to grow you because I'm a 22, 23-year-old asking for six-figure salaries. And they're like, it doesn't work that way. I'm like, okay.
No, it never does, and it actually annoys people that have been there for
It
a while.
does. And so that first half of my career, I was like, they're like, you need to just get really, really good at something. And when you get really, really good at something, then we're gonna move you up and you'll become senior and so on, right? Then towards the tail end of my career, I got really, really good at something. Right. I may or may not mention Jira 1,000 times in a day, right? But I like to think that I'm one of the best in the world in this Atlassian tool.
Well, I'm glad you chose Jira as an example and not talking about Elon. So.
Right. I was going to mention Elon at some point, so just we still got 20 minutes.
Well, I beat you to it, so you're not allowed to now.
So anyways, so I got really, really good at my job. And then when I started asking for promotions at that point, they're like, well, now you're too specialized. I'm like, I gave up. So I'm like, I'm just going to go start my own business. So just be careful, because your management will always play the political game with you. But when it comes to developing skills that you're going to be able to future-proof yourself with AI, is these soft people, more critical, analytical skills that are not necessarily technical, but more soft skills.
Yeah, and that transitions very well into number 2.
Yeah, so number 2 is going to be develop a strong incident, command, and operational judgment. Mm-hmm. And basically what that means is you want to be able to have intuition, mm-hmm. because that's not something that AI, like emotion is still not built into AI.
Yeah. Now you want to be able to anticipate what the root cause is on any particular incident. Now you don't want to necessarily always go to what it was the last time. I have worked with people that their method of troubleshooting was always to just bring up what it was last time, and sometimes that works, but not always. But being able to figure out, okay, this is what this seems like while troubleshooting an incident.
But yeah, so I guess what my story here is, AI is going to be good at troubleshooting, right? Make no mistake of that. It can read logs. It can do a million calculations. I'm driving my Tesla this weekend in full self-driving.
You're not allowed to bring that up again.
No, you said I can talk about Elon. You said I can talk about his companies. So I'm driving my Tesla this weekend, and I have full self-driving, which is all Neuralink based, right? All the code in my version 14.2 or whatever I have in my software is all built by AI. There's like very little C++ code left in there. Okay. That was built by a human, right? I drove 100 miles in this thing with like 2 interventions that I had to do.
Okay, that's pretty good. Okay. What did you have to do?
Well, to get from my house to my parents' house, there's a dedicated lane that I have to drive through to like not get billed for being in the express lane. Oh, so it kept trying to push me out of it, and I'm like, no, I need to be in here.
I have not turned mine on. I know you've been bragging about it, and
I love it.
But the main reason, well, one, I don't trust it, but 2, it's been snowy and icy out here, and I really don't want to try.
That's why I'm bringing it up, right? That is exactly why I'm bringing this up, right? Because what AI does really, really well is analyze. It can analyze data points like no other. So you're never gonna beat AI from an analytical perspective, right? The reason I was bringing up full self-driving is I'm watching the road, and I was telling my wife, I'm like, this is very interesting because I feel like since I don't have to worry about doing this or the pedal movement with my feet, 100% of my focus is on watching everything, right? I can focus so much easier because my brain is not taxed with having to do the mechanical part too. So it's just cognitive load at that point instead of splitting it, right? Because when you're driving, you're half cognitive, half physical. But what I realize and what I'm understanding is like, even by the time I see something, my car has already reacted.
Yeah.
So Tesla's vision, right, because again, all AI driven, is able to process way, way faster than I could ever process. Even though now I'm only focusing on processing. And so I would challenge you to take it out to the snow and see if it does. It should do better in the snow than you think you can do in the snow. That's how much better this Tesla is. You should
Yes,
try it.
I'm still hesitant to try it.
You should try it.
But one of the things that annoys me, and it's not the self-driving part of it, is I use the cruise control all the time on the Tesla, and it does a good job at automatically slowing down when the car in front of you slows down. But what it doesn't do well is accelerate when you go around that slow car. So if I got people behind me that are coming up on the passing lane, and I pull into the passing lane to get around a slow car, my Tesla doesn't.
You won't have that problem with FSD.
Really?
I pulled up to Costco as soon as I enabled it. It took me into the parking spot and it will park itself in the parking spot. But somebody was waiting for. It just so happened that in the parking spot that I was. What?
Did it steal the parking spot?
No. So this is what's interesting, right? So I have never been to this part of the Costco. I just found this part out, right? I just never been to this side of the building.
Okay.
I always come from like the west side, and I was on the east side because I let the navigation take me, and it decided to take me through like the east side. It did some Tesla's maps system and navigation is still to be improved.
Yeah.
Right. But anyway, so it brought me through this other way. So we're coming in through this other angle. And it went to the last lane on the last corner that you could possibly park. I'm like, okay, this is interesting, but I'm gonna let it. I don't want to intervene.
Mm-hmm.
And so it so happens that there's nitrogen stations to fill up your tires.
Oh, okay.
So there was a line to go fill up.
Okay.
But it could see that there was a parking spot to the left of it, away from the blinkers that everybody's like blinking, signaling that they're gonna go pull into the nitrogen station. So it sits there. And we're waiting, right? And then all I did was I gave it a little nudge on the accelerator, and it went around and then went and parked itself.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, my jaw was just dropped. Because I'm like, how the heck did I know? But here's the other part that it surprised me. Remember I told you that I have this special lane that I have to drive through in order to get, so I don't get billed? On the way back, guess what she did really well?
Did stay in the correct lane?
She not only that, but she moved into the right lane and then stayed in that lane.
Nice. So we learned, yeah.
And then, but here's the last thing I'll mention about Tesla self-driving before we get back on topic.
I'll hold you to that too.
Yes, there's something beautiful and magical about the future of AI in cars. So I'm gonna go get the freeway. I'm about a half a mile away. I live where there's like every car's a Tesla, right? So there's three
surprising number of them here too.
Well, there's three of us in a line, and I swear we're all on FSD because at the exact same time, all three blinkers to move over a lane turn on at the exact same time, and all three of us just beautifully roll into the freeway and we get into the freeway.
Oh, kind of like a conga line.
Yeah, it was so interesting. I told my wife, I'm like, this feature is going to be amazing because the number of traffic collisions and everything is just going to go down so much, right? These cars are in sync. It's so cool to look at.
Well, I am looking forward to the day that I can take a nap while it's driving me to work. But if we get to that point, do we even need to go to work? We should be completely virtual anyway.
All right. So anyway, the reason I brought it back, right? There's a reason why Tesla is important, right? Because of intuition. When you're driving, you have certain intuitions that you learn by driving. And with AI and these careers, right, this is the one thing that the car, even though it can analyze millions of data, and even though AI is going to be able to analyze logs and outages and all that stuff, nothing's going to replace your intuition of being able to see a problem, scan a problem, and know in your gut what the heck's going on and how to solve it. And which is why I still keep my hands very close to that steering wheel, because as much as I want to trust the AI, I don't think you can teach it that intuition of like reacting to it.
Yeah.
But again, this is a skill, right? That intuition is something you need to develop as an engineer or whatever you're doing. Right?
Really, the only way you're going to get it and getting experience. So you need to be on multiple projects.
So the challenge here is that you got to push yourself, right? The only way to get intuition is to have seen that problem before.
Mm-hmm.
right? And not just seeing it from a data point perspective, but having it like seeing it from a I've seen this problem before. When my son was small, he used to have ear infections. He used to get them all the time, and I remember he had them like all the time. But we were in college when we had our first kid, so we had the California. If you're poor in California, you're like actually pretty rich because all your services are taken care of by the state. So our medical was taken care of by the state, right? And so it wasn't until I got my first big boy job that we got real insurance. And so I remember like at his 1 year mark.
Paying for this now, yeah.
Sorry? Actually, I wasn't. Prior to Obamacare, before they ruined healthcare, I didn't have to pay for anything. But no, I only joke. But seriously, once I could actually go to a real, the hospitals you pay good stuff for, I remember walking, like we have the kid crying, and then the doctor walks in, and she immediately, just 2 seconds of looking at my kid, knew exactly what was wrong with him. And I'm like, how do you know? Like, I see 1,000 of these a day. Right? And so again, that level of intuition, right? Like you may need to push yourself to uncomfortable levels at first so that you can build this muscle that, again, AI is just not going to be able to replace. You will not be able to replace. I mean, that intuition, you just can't teach it.
All right. So ReleaseTEAM, DevOps tool specialists. We provide professional services and software reselling around the leading software DevOps tools like Atlassian, GitLab, GitHub, JFrog, and others. To talk with us about DevOps, here's our contact information. Please call 866-887-0489 or via email at info@releaseteam.com.
Teach it.
All right, well, let's move on to number 3.
Leadership, communication, and cross-team influence.
Soft skills. Yeah.
The soft skills. These are the, negotiations. These are the empathy, right? These are reading the room.
So things that software developers are, have a hard time with.
Yeah, don't be an Elon. Don't like Elon is notorious for walking into a room and not being able to read a room.
Hey, no more Elon.
I'm bashing on Elon. I thought I could say it.
Pick on Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg has learned quite of empathy a lot. Like he's changed.
No, he still seems robotic to me.
You think so?
Yeah.
I know he's been improving quite a bit. Who's robotic? Oh boy. Cook's a little robotic.
Not as much as Zuckerberg was, but
yeah, Zuckerberg was really robotic. Yeah. All right, don't be a Zuck. Don't pull a Zuckerberg. Although I think Zuckerberg's getting better.
Yeah. I'll take your word for it. I don't know if I've actually seen him recently.
But the point here is, right, like these are going to be things that the human element of your job is not going to be replaced by a machine.
No, AI is not going to negotiate the scope of work for you. It may be able to take a scope of work and flush out the steps that are going to be needed to obtain it, but it's not going to know, hey, we can have quicker milestones if we change the scope of work this way, or negotiate.
I think it's unfortunate, right? Because you look at a lot of engineering disasters, and most of them weren't technical disasters.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one team just didn't want to get along with another team.
Yeah, it's usually a NASA problem, right? Like that. Like what was it? Which is the space shuttle that had the teacher in it?
Oh yeah, Columbia.
Yeah, no, Columbia was the last one.
The last one, Discovery?
No, Discovery's still alive. Challenger?
Could have been Challenger. Yeah, that Challenger crashed or blew up.
Yeah, Challenger had the teacher in it. Okay, so that disaster was a people problem, even though it was obviously a mechanical failure with the right. But the decision to go or no go fell on humans, and so like that level of intuition and responsibility, right? AI is going to be able to do data points and they'll be able to predict, like do probability of like success or failures, and you're going to have numbers that AI is going to be able to generate. But at the end of the day, somebody's going to have to hit that red button, and it's that does not get replaced by AI. Yeah. And when it does, then it's Terminator. And we're done. We're done for anyways.
Yeah, never tell me the odds. Yeah.
But until Terminator takes over, you can future-proof your career by having those people skills and again, leadership, influence. Learn how to influence, because again, AI is going to be able to present numbers, facts and numbers, right?
Yeah.
But it's what you do with that data, right? What you do with that information that AI, until it can think for itself, right? Until we have AGI,
Yeah.
It's still on you.
Definitely agree. All right, so let's move on to the fifth one, and we can wrap it up after 5.
What's your fifth one? Because now I'm out of order.
Focusing on the governance and security policies, compliance, things like that.
The boring stuff?
The boring stuff, yeah. The stuff that most of us probably avoid. Unless you really love the word sec in the middle of your dev and ops. Yeah. I've always been one to be on both sides of that argument. I think security and governance is part of DevOps, and there's no need to call it out. But then sometimes I feel there's a need to call it out when people completely ignore it.
It's easy to forget it, but it's interesting because you would think that those would be the things that, like, people automate the boring stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But again, just with on a very similar note from the previous sections, right? That security is so much more human and so much more intuition than it is technical.
Yeah. Now, we might be able to have AI automate the checking of these things to see if you're compliant or that you follow the governance or anything like that. But someone needs to tell AI, this is what you're looking for. This and this is what we're using. This is the standard that we've implemented, and then let AI do the heavy lifting to determine if if your scorecard is all A's or all F's.
Yeah, but defining things, right? Like coming up with your policies, coming up with your procedures. Like AI is going to be able to help author some of that. But you are still, again, the person is going to sign it, right? Like there's still going to be that human element of it, because these things. Have you ever seen Mr. Robot?
I'm going to say no, but go ahead. Tell me what
Mr. Robot's such a cool show. It's a show about a hacker, and they're trying to. I'm sure you've heard of it.
That from the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched Mr. Robot.
Yeah. So they had a version of Iron Mountain. I'm sure you're familiar with Iron Mountain, right? Mm-hmm. So they had like their version of Iron Mountain where they were trying to break into it, and they're just staring at like their plan to break into the company, and they're like, "This Iron Mountain is impenetrable." And the guy looks at their plan and is like, "I see 7 vulnerabilities walking around." Right? And the walking around is the key part, right? Because AI, as smart as it's going to be to prevent people from breaking into your network, it ain't going to stop them people from being dumb.
Yeah. I haven't thought about that TV show in a long time.
I know. I need to rewatch it. It was a really good show. The first season was. The second season got a little interesting.
Yeah. I know I watched at least the first season. So.
Yeah, I went through a very big phase of cybersecurity in my career, and I was in love with Mr. Robot. That and Burn Notice. If you ever want to become a spy, you should watch Burn Notice.
I know of Burn Notice. I don't think I've watched it.
Yeah, if you've ever had like dreams of becoming a spy, then Burn Notice is like the show for you to watch.
No, my spy aspirations ended with Spies Like Us.
Not Spy Kids?
No, that was after my time.
All right, folks. As you can see, there's a lot of different things that you can do, and we didn't even get to the whole list. So in our next episode, we're going to be covering a T-shaped DevOps engineer, even though Shawn thinks that's an oxymoron, doesn't actually exist. But it's the best words that we got. So T-shaped skills is something we're going to be focusing and double tapping into, because in this world of AI, it's going to be very important for you to go deep, but it's also going to be equally important for you to go wide. And so we're going to give you more skills and more of our perspectives on what it takes to be a T-shaped engineer, because it might be the only differentiator you have in the world of AI.
Yes.
So, folks, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Go ahead, Shawn. Take us out.
All right. Well, yeah, like and subscribe, like Alex says. And until next time, bye, everyone.
Bye.